From the headquarters of Telesur English in Quito, Ecuador, I'm Carla Gonzalez, and this is From the South. We begin in Guatemala, where the UN commission that fought political corruption in the country is officially leaving after the outgoing president Jimmy Morales terminated its mission. Guatemala's president-elect Alejandro Yamatei has supported the move. The International Commission Against Impunity in Guatemala, or CICIG, has worked together with Guatemalan investigators and prosecutors to expose multi-billion-dollar corruption networks. Over the last 12 years, the Commission put 2 former presidents and dozens of officials in prison for corruption-related crimes. It also investigated Morales himself and his family for corruption allegations. Claudia Escobar, a former judge at the Guatemalan Appeals Court and a lecturer of law at Georgetown University in Washington, D.C., spoke to Telesur about the termination of the CICIG's mandate.
I think it's a very wrong decision what he has done. He hasn't think about the people. He only thought about himself and his closest allies that he wanted to protect. Remember that he is being investigated by CICIG, and all he did during the time of his government was trying to destroy CICIG. I definitely think that CICIG didn't overreach this mandate, but we have to admit that they commit some mistakes, as every institution does. And I think that President Morales, of course, was not somebody impartial. He was part of the problem. He was biased. And that's why he's claiming that CICIG overreached the mandate. Well, I think that Yamatei will have the opportunity to really strengthen the institutions, but I'm afraid that if he follows the same steps that Morales did, he's not going to be much of a change. I am afraid, that this is not the best scenario for Guatemala.
And to learn more about what the CICIG will leave behind, let's listen to this report.
An era comes to an end in Guatemala with the departure of the International Commission Against Impunity.
We have officially notified the Secretary General of the United Nations of the decision not to renew the mandate of the CICIG, and that it immediately start transferring its cases to the corresponding authorities.
The International Commission Against Impunity in Guatemala, most often known as CICIG, began its work in 2007. The main objective was to strengthen the country's justice system. Detractors said that its work was political and accused it of abuse of power.
¡Asesinos! ¡Asesinos!
They could create campaigns to discredit CICIG officials and develop persecution based on political grounds, just as many other corrupt individuals in Latin America have done. They could try to criminalize judges, prosecutors, and CICIG officials who acted honestly and tried to repair the state. But they cannot do this again, because the people have seen the reality.
Campaigners against corruption and impunity fear that removal of the commission will undermine human rights in Guatemala and endanger those who defend them.
We call on civil society in Guatemala, and especially the Guatemalan state, to protect officials from the International Commission Against Impunity in Guatemala.
The outlook in Guatemala is in limbo. The CICIG leaves 70 cases waiting for justice, not for the threats that are now coming from the government.
And arising out of a CICIG-initiated probe, authorities have arrested Guatemala's former First Lady, Sandra Torres, under charges of campaign finance violations in 2015. 63-year-old Torres, who lost last month's presidential runoff to Alejandro Yamatei, was arrested at her residence in an exclusive area on the outskirts of the Guatemala city. Investigators searched her home and took her to court on Monday morning. Torres was married to former President Álvaro Colom, who governed from 2008 to 2012.
I could not qualify this as illegal because it is issued by a judge. What is necessary is the arrest warrant because she had already made herself available to both the judge and the prosecutor of the public ministry that has got the case.
Now turning to other news, Hurricane Dorian continues to rip through the Bahamas, killing at least 5 people, destroying homes, and leaving countless without a home. The storm will continue to hover over Grand Bahama Island through this Tuesday. The past 24 hours have been pure hurricane hell for the people of northern Bahamas, as Dorian, now a Category 3 storm, continued to lash the islands, leaving behind unprecedented devastation. The images and videos we are seeing of people trapped in their homes as floodwaters seep in are really heartbreaking. Up to 13,000 homes have been destroyed or left severely damaged, while vehicles and other property have been submerged, while floodwaters creep into homes, even 2-story high ones. Authorities have urged people to find flotation devices and use hammers to break out of their attics if it's necessary. There are also prolonged power outages in New Providence. Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis described this event as a historic tragedy.
Bahamians across our country and throughout the world are praying for you. There are questions about fatalities. Thus far, the Royal Bahamas Police Force has confirmed that there are 5 deaths in Abaco. Teams will go to Abaco as soon as possible for full and proper assessment and identification. We are going to be very careful about reporting such information, which should only come from the official channel and be verified by the Royal Bahamas Police Force. We need to be sensitive in reporting such information, and will do so as soon as we can have reliable information. The initial reports from Abaco is that the devastation is unprecedented and extensive. I have heard from a number of world leaders, including a number of heads of governments from CARICOM. All CARICOM leaders have been calling throughout the day and throughout the night. Just recently, this morning, the President of Haiti, Moise, has called, wishing the Bahamas the best. And whatever Haiti can do, they would be most certainly available. We are also in touch with a number of other foreign governments and international agencies, my fellow Bahamians and residents. I pledge to you that your government will bring to bear every resource possible and all of our collective energy to assist those in the devastated and affected areas.
Meanwhile, the primary telecommunications provider for the Bahamas, BTC, said it was not yet able to get on the ground in Abaco due to bad weather conditions.
So right now, I can tell you, Dorian has been a kind of catastrophic consequences for us as a telecom provider. So we have yet to get on the ground and actually see the devastation, but we've certainly received some of the pictures from staff that we have there. Our biggest challenge right now is getting in there and assessing fully the damage. Abaco as an island is a very large island, as you know, plus we also service all of the keys. You know, our time frame to get back, the first thing we want to do is get our mobile network back up. You know, we're working very closely with our parent company, Liberty Latin America, to ensure that we have the resources and the infrastructure, as well as the heavy equipment coming into the country very rapidly so that we can actually do a very quick deployment of new technology. From what we've seen, there's very little to work with.
And families in the Bahamas are frantically searching for their loved ones in Abaco. They're being told to register with NEMA for assistance in locating those people.
In order to assist relatives in finding whomever they think are lost out there, go to NEMA Bahamas Facebook page, look for a link, Find Me NEMA, log on to the link and fill out 5 questions and send it back to us so we can help find those who are lost.
Cuba's Foreign Minister Bruno Rodriguez expressed solidarity with the people of the Bahamas and assured Cuba's support in the wake of Hurricane Dorian. Rodriguez said on Twitter that Cuban cooperation workers in their sister nation are protected and will join the recovery efforts in the country. Cuba and the Bahamas have long shared a healthy bilateral relationship, and around 40 Cubans are working in Bahamian hospitals. Coming up after the break, we'll tell you why massive protests have erupted in Abuja, Nigeria. Stay tuned.
A review of the world news that investigates, incites analysis, and induces criticism, because every event has a context.
Pusimos el punto en la I.
Dot in the eye. Saturdays, only on Telesur.
Welcome back. Nicaragua is celebrating the 40th anniversary of the founding of its army. The main event took place at the Plaza de la Revolución, accompanied by President Daniel Ortega, Vice President Rosario Murillo, and the commander of the army. Nicaragua continues to be the safest country in the region, and the head of the army explained that this can be attributed to specific strategies developed by the army to maintain security both in the cities and in the rural areas.
Honor y gloria.
Honor and glory to our heroes of thousands of battles. Honor and glory to our heroes and martyrs. Honor and glory to the Army of Nicaragua on its 40th anniversary. Homeland and freedom.
The first report of the government of the Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador continues to generate reactions. According to polls, the majority of citizens are pleased with the work he's doing. However, some are worried about the lack of progress in security.
7 out of 10 Mexicans approve of President Andrés Manuel López Obrador's work. He delivered his first governmental report to the Union Congress September 1st. Despite the fact he has significant support, some are demanding better security and a reduction of the violence that is affecting the country.
Good intentions, as always, but the results that we are seeing in security are pitiful.
Delinquency was already rampant under previous administrations, and obviously you cannot combat it in just 1 year.
According to the presidential cabinet's figures, there were 2,400 homicides in August 2019. The president has recognized the lack of progress, and in places like the state of Sonora, where there is a higher murder rate, measures are already being taken to halt the advance of criminality.
We have identified the penetration of police bodies by organized crime as a problem and something we must attend to. As part of a strategy we're implementing, we're focusing on 4 municipalities, Cajema, Hermosillo, Empalme, Guaymas, and Navojoa, where military and naval personnel will lead public security.
In the text of the presidential report, the deployment of 58,600 National Guards is detailed. They are based in 150 of the 266 regions in which territory is divided in a strategy to combat crime.
They are trying to give a policing role to a military body, to give it a vocation beyond combat, instead to the fight to prevent crime and the identification and capture of those responsible.
The challenge for the current government is deploying 140,000 guards across the country in order to guarantee security for citizens and reverse the figures inherited from previous administration in the neoliberal period.
The current government has decided to change the means of combat to an integral policy of justice, peace, and citizen security.
Unlike the military strategy taken by Felipe Calderón and continued by Enrique Peña Nieto, López Obrador has said that he will not tolerate any cases of torture or rights violations against civilians. Additionally, he committed to giving the necessary resources in order to support the search for disappeared people, as well as protection for journalists and human rights defenders.
In other news, hundreds of Nigerians have protested against a $9 billion court judgment against Nigeria at the British High Commission in Abuja. A British court granted an Irish engineering company an order to seize Nigerian assets worth $9 billion after a disputed gas processing agreement with the federal government. The company argues that the Nigerian government did not abide by the terms of the contract. More than 100 people have been arrested in connection with violent protests and looting across South Africa. Police used rubber bullets to disperse the angry protesters who torched cars and attacked businesses owned by foreign nationals, who they accuse of stealing economic opportunities and engaging in criminal activities.
We all are Africans. We are brothers. I can remember when I'm still in primary school, they chased me away because of this country. The problem that they have when they are fighting on apartheid, I pay that money to make sure that my fellow Africans are safe. Today they are safe. They are now fighting us back. What are they doing? Okay, they are saying today that we are taking their job, we are taking whatever belongs to them. If I'm taking the job I'm doing today, nobody tell me the job I'm doing. I'm doing it by my own.
Meanwhile, the Nigerian government has accused the South African authorities of not doing enough to protect foreign nationals living in the country. Nigeria's Foreign Minister Geoffrey Onyeama said his government will take definitive measures against the continued xenophobic attacks on their citizens. Dozens of business premises belonging to Nigerian nationals have been attacked since the violence started last week. The Kenyan government has suspended visits to Hell's Gate National Park after a flash flood killed 7 people on Sunday evening. The 7 were on a tour when a flash flood swept through the park, washing them away. Authorities have called off search and rescue operations, and 6 bodies have been found.
So by yesterday at 7 p.m. we managed to recover 1 body inside the park. But this morning we started the operations very early in the morning at 6. And as we report now, we've been able to recover 5 more bodies.
Gabon's Court of Appeal has refused to hear a petition for the president to undergo medical tests to assess his fitness to govern after he suffered a stroke almost a year ago. Ali Bongo's health has been a subject of debate since his return in March after treatment overseas.
For me, we don't have a chance anymore. Many people have told me to go to the Minister of Justice, but it was the Minister of Justice himself who took the decision to dismiss the President of the Court. Do you think the Minister will listen to me? So we have to conclude that this case is buried forever.
When we return from this break, the UK government gears up for today's Brexit showdown in the Parliament. Stay with us.
We are present at every event where our nations are staring. We believe in a new global vision, united in every broadcasting. We keep expanding our horizons and working on a closer and better communication. Now, in Grenada, Telesur, the new source from South America and the Caribbean.
Thank you for joining us once again. British MPs have begun arriving at the Cabinet Office in London for talks with the government about their aim to take control of parliamentary agenda to stop a no-deal Brexit. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson faces a showdown in Parliament after warning MPs that he would seek a snap election if they tied his hands on Brexit. Members of Johnson's own Conservative Party are preparing to join opposition lawmakers in a vote to try to force a delay to Britain's exit from the European Union. That is, if he cannot secure a divorce deal with Brussels in the next few weeks.
Morning, Katie, excuse me. What Boris Johnson was doing was essentially threatening people. Threatening people with a no-deal Brexit if he doesn't get his way in Parliament. Our purpose is to challenge this government on a no-deal Brexit. Our purpose is to try to protect jobs and living standards, try to ensure that this country doesn't run headlong into the arms of Donald Trump and a trade deal with the United States.
Staying in the United Kingdom, Roger Waters, the founder of rock band Pink Floyd, led a demonstration outside the House Office building in London in support of WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange. He played the band's classic Wish You Were Here to a crowd of hundreds of supporters.
So you think you can tell heaven from hell, blue skies from pain? Can you tell a green field from a cold steel red? A smile from a veil.
Hong Kong's chief executive Carrie Lam has dispelled allegations claiming that she intends to resign from her job amidst violent opposition protests.
From the very beginning till now, I have never tendered a resignation to the Central People's Government. I have not even contemplated to discuss a resignation with the Central People's Government. The choice of not resigning is my own choice. Okay? But if you want to understand, because in a private session, I just attempted to explain that as an individual, given the very difficult circumstances, might be it was an easy choice to leave. But I told myself repeatedly in the last 3 months that I and my team should stay on to help Hong Kong.
25 people have died in the United States, in the U.S. state of California, after a commercial diving boat caught fire and sank off Santa Cruz Island, about 145 kilometers west of Los Angeles. According to the U.S. Coast Guard, the incident happened a few minutes after 3 a.m. local time. 5 people have been rescued so far, while 9 are still missing. The cause of the fire has not yet been identified.
Coast Guard and partner agencies have responded to a vessel fire near Santa Cruz Island this morning at 03:30, which is 3:30 a.m. Coast Guard Sector Los Angeles Long Beach watchstanders overheard a mayday call via Channel 16 of an engulfed 75-foot commercial diving vessel with 39 people aboard. Crews from the Coast Guard, Santa Barbara Fire Department, Ventura County Fire Department, and the Vessel Assist have responded. Fire department crews were fighting the fire when the vessel sank 20 yards offshore in 64 feet of water. 5 people were evacuated aboard a Good Samaritan pleasure craft known as the Great Escape. Currently, 34 people aboard the vessel are unaccounted for.
In Afghanistan, at least 5 people have been killed and several others are injured after a car bomb exploded in the capital, Kabul. A spokesperson for the Interior Ministry said the explosion happened on Tuesday night, a few minutes before 10 p.m. local time. Taliban fighters have claimed responsibility for the attack, which occurred during the visit to Kabul of the U.S. Special Representative for Afghanistan Reconciliation, Zalmay Khalilzad, to discuss with Afghan officials a draft peace deal with the Taliban.
I could not imagine anything when the explosion occurred. I just saw a burning light while I was watching TV. When I opened my eyes, I saw only doctors around me. Look, I have been injured, my leg. My brothers brought me to the hospital.
In prison, Tunisian presidential candidate Nabil Karoui, who was arrested weeks ago, has launched his campaign in prison. Nabil Karoui was arrested late August for alleged money laundering. Other candidates have also launched their presidential campaign, holding rallies in different parts of the country. Tunisia's electoral authority had already approved Karoui's candidacy before he was sent to prison for the election. The winner for this election scheduled for later this month will replace the country's first democratically elected president, who died in office in July.
Today I am in prison, but I am with you. I am your son. I am your brother. I am your father. I am of yours. They put me in a jail unfairly because I was by your side, because I defended you, because I said that I was going to break the system.
More than 200 migrants, including 10 minors, have been rescued on the Mediterranean Sea by the Spanish Coast Guard. The incident comes less than a week after a boat carrying migrants capsized off the coast of Libya, killing dozens. Thousands of migrants escaping wars and poverty attempt to make the journey across the Mediterranean every year. A report released by the International Organization for Migration last week shows that more than 900 migrants have died while trying to cross the Mediterranean since the start of 2019. And with that, we end our news brief. But remember, you can read all of our stories by checking our website, telesurenglish.net. And be sure to join us on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For Telesur English, I'm Carla Gonzalez. Thank you for watching.